At the end of 1995, I decided that I did not want to settle down with Ron. And for the next 8 months or so, I went back and forth between seeing Derek, who I could count on as my standby, and Joel. I was miserable. I manipulated. I lied. I played them against each other. Although everyone believes I started dating Joel to be vindictive to Derek and Valencia, the actual reason is because my mom does not like him. He is the same complexion as Uncle Walter, and she has a big problem with very dark-skinned men. She forbid me to see him since he messes with that crack. He was no good, and he was just going to bring me down with him. Out of spite and my own vindictiveness, I not only continued to see him, I married him. I do not count him in my marriages because we ended up with an annulment, because he was still married to his first wife. The short time we were together, he was everything my mother worried about. He ended up back on crack and got abusive. The last time he relapsed before I left him, the cops came looking for him in the middle of the night. He had lent his car to some drug dealer, and they were trying to find him. I did not want to know anymore. In August of 1996, my mom found me, and the paramedics said I had no pulse, and I was blue. The only thing I could say was, "Why didn't you let me die?" I walked back into 185 AA meetings on September 2nd, 1996. I was just exhausted. The drink that got me into the rooms was Bacardi 151. I had a half pint, and I had dropped it on the carpet, and the bottle broke. I went and got a sponge and soaked up the alcohol, and I do not even know if the sponge was clean or dirty. I just knew that I could not go on like this. The thought of killing myself at this time was already out the window because I seriously believed I could not kill myself. And I really didn't want to go for a week vacation to the mental hospital. I was not too sure if I kept going that one day they're going to keep letting me out. My first day back at the meetings, more people seemed to care more about if Derek knew I was back than the fact that I was back. I did my best to avoid him for the time being. I went to 3 meetings a day, 7 days a week. I live in meetings. I have at least 1 chip and coffee commitment a day. Those are my favorite. My coffee commitments rarely go past the 1-year term because I tend to make Mississippi mud instead of coffee. A little too strong for most of the members. I have either been a secretary or part of a decorating committee of many events. They need me. I feel like I belong on the surface. But it gives me a reason to be out of the house. I am back living with Garrick at this time. I have just got out of this craziness with Joel, and I am trying this let's do it for the kids that my mother has talked me into. due to the fact that Joel has become abusive. He has already tracked me down once and hit me, which resulted in him breaking his own hand. So my mother believes, with me living with Garrick, he will not mess with me there. Since I needed to go somewhere after kicking him out, once my lease ended, I moved in. Corey and Garrett had been asking for me, and my mom had said if I tried one more time with Garrett for the kids' sake, she would let Ryan come back and live with me. I tried to make it work while there. I am working at Alpha Therapeutic as an executive secretary. I do all the mom things. I planted a garden. I've tried to participate in school activities. We threw a Halloween party this year, decorated the house, and each kid invited 3 friends. I was dressed up in a tiger outfit that I had made with fishnet stockings, a tail, and all the trimmings. We had so many people, mainly teenage boys in that house. We had to step over people since it was a sleepover. I got a call from my doctor today. I had an appointment earlier this week. She told me I need to come in. I arranged to go in today. She told me that I have chronic fatigue syndrome and I need rest. She tells me to imagine that my body is a car and that CFS is a brick wall and I have just crashed into that wall. She has put me on disability. My kids have a younger half-brother, Garen, or Mookie. His mother, she does not like me being here. She told me that if I stay, she will not let Garrick see his son. The decision is easy to make. As much as I want to keep my kids together, I have gotten to the point where I know motherhood does not come natural to me like they said it would. I know what it feels like to be told that you cannot see your child. To not be able to see my son when I wanted to. I would not do that to Garrick, despite how much he may deserve it. I took Ryan and left. I would not put myself in a situation that would continue to cause issues. I have moved into a 2-bedroom with a roommate on Lake Avenue in Altadena. I had a severe asthma attack in 1998, and my doctor said that I needed to get out of Southern California and suggested I move either to Las Vegas, where the air is dry, or Washington State, where it is wet. I have already been to Washington, so I start looking at Las Vegas. My sponsor right now is Yvonne. She's about 5'9", has cocoa brown skin, long brown hair that she wears straight. She's a singer. She writes children's books, and she rides a motorcycle. I believe it's a Harley, but I'm not positive. She has this relationship with her God that is different than many in AA. A lot of them just say higher power, like I do. I personally don't believe in God. Why should I? He hasn't seemed to want anything to do with me. When Joyce tried to tell me about God, she said that, and I quote, God takes care
of children and souls.
Unquote. Yvonne seems to be at peace, and she genuinely cares for others. She talks about God like she actually knows him. She never puts down how I feel about God. I am very angry, and she is the first person that told me I am not to blame for my childhood. I hated my mother for the way she treated me when she was not around her friends. Joyce's actions over the years has made me bitter. She didn't lock me in a closet, but she did lock me in the house. The deadbolt locks needed keys. She had the windows nailed shut, except for the one in each room that would be open as high as 1 inch for fresh air. The phone even had a lock. I could not even dial 911 if I needed to. I will never forget back in junior high school when I came home and asked her what sex was. She said we would talk about it. Then a couple of days later, she gave me a book called How Babies Are Made. I will never forget it. It had a purple cover, and it started with a paper flower and a paper bee. And then it talked about 2 paper dogs who had a paper puppy. Then there was a paper man and a paper woman in a paper bed, which led to a paper baby. I never understood what any of that had to do with sex. She constantly made remarks about my pillows getting too big, my legs being too long. Something was always wrong with some part of my body. How that type of body I had would only attract trouble. I couldn't go out to birthday parties, roller skating, or movies without her. And then it would always be, we could not go because she had to work or something she had to do that day, unless it was with the church. I wasn't invited to parties by the church kids, since it was mostly a white church, or their parties included sleepovers, and I would not be able to go. The movie at the church was called A Thief in the Night, and they played it every New Year's Eve. Up until the age of 7, I only have about 8 or 9 memories, and the best one was taking beer to the people that were always in the house. Despite counseling and doing everything possible to try to recall these memories, I have not been able to bring up the missing parts of my childhood. In 1998, I ran into Spencer by my apartment. Ryan was with me, and she remembered him. We talked about Corey, and I gave him the current school picture that I had. Since we were both on our way to prior obligations, we agreed to meet up later. Later that night, when Ryan questioned me as to why I gave Spencer a picture of Corey, I explained to her how they all had different fathers, that I was told that her father had died, but I had his parents' phone number still so we could call. We did. I left a message, never to get an answer. And it was like as quickly as I ran into him is as quickly as I seemed to forget him. In January of 1999, I had got to the point where I decided to take a look at moving to Las Vegas. Millie had moved out there a couple of years ago, and she suggested I come and spend a weekend and see what I think. My health was still a problem. I have been on disability for over 6 months, and it is not getting any better. So maybe a change of environment may just be what I need. Yvonne understands how I feel and told me that it is okay to have those feelings and not everything is my fault. Right after I moved to Las Vegas, Yvonne, while on a motorcycle ride that she did every year, died when her bike hit black ice. Derek once again was there and paid for me to get back to California for her funeral.